Don't rely entirely on synthetic pet food for your pets. Most of the time what we see here is in Sri Lanka, many pet owners, whenever their pet is diagnosed with an acute illness or even a chronic illness, they want to immediately put their dog on a synthetic food, mainly prescription diets. But here's the thing, now I will tell you a story of what happened yesterday. Yesterday a patient came in for a second opinion. This is the pet whom I saw yesterday. So after going through the condition, we diagnosed him with a low-grade hip dysplasia. Now hip dysplasia could be genetical or could also be due to trauma. In this pet's case, we know the history. Once the pet is put on medication, he had been abruptly transitioned to a joint care pet food, the synthetic pet food. So ideally, for a case of hip dysplasia, what we should focus most is on the weight of the pet. The calorie intake should be adjusted and the weight must be controlled. Definitely, hip dysplasia is a joint problem, but beyond that, more than addressing the joints, we need to focus on managing the weight of the dog while reducing the inflammation in the joints. And this patient was instructed to abruptly transition to synthetic food, the joint care product, but to entirely stop home cooked meals including rice, which should not be the case. The focus should be to control the weight no matter what the food the dog takes in. And when I went through the ingredient list, I noticed that there is rice in the pet food, and there are so much of other carbohydrates. And when I calculated the carbohydrate level of the pet food, there is 36% of carbohydrates in the food on dry matter basis. Now this is something that is very high even for a healthy pet. 36% is quite high. Synthetic pet food also contain ingredients that are very irritating to the gut, in addition to containing fillers like rice, corn, soya and all of that. Definitely the pet food had other ingredients that are too commercialized, glucosamine, chondroitin. These are all, if you go through the research articles, you will notice that these are highly commercialized, over giving best results. But when it comes to something like a home cooked meal or a fresh pet food, we could easily adjust the carbohydrate intake to focus on weight control. The carbohydrate intake, the fat intake, these could be adjusted, and feeding a fresh pet food can really be less traumatic to the gut. Try to not rely on synthetic pet food itself whenever your dog is diagnosed with an illness. Make sure to curate a fresh pet food meal or a nicely home cooked meal according to the requirements for that particular illness. And so what I did was I actually spoke with the pet parent, and we discussed on a nutrition plan to keep the body weight under control, to actually drop down the body condition and to keep the body weight under control, while also managing his other mobility needs. And then we will be putting him on a physiotherapy session.